So did you know that you could play an E minor chord with no hands? Well, maybe I guess if you had a guitar cable. Here's a trick right here I'm going to share with you. Some of us probably already know this trick. You can whack your guitar with it sounds better on a rock guitar with a stack of Marshalls, and if your name was Jimmy Page, maybe it sounds a little better, but I'm kind of slapping it off the top of the guitar. You can play an E minor chord with no hands, right, except for a strum pattern. This right here, my friend, is an E minor chord. Yeah, it's an E minor 11 with an E and then a 1, a 4, and then a flat 7, a flatted 3, a 5, and a 1 on the top. It's a really great sound. This is a great opportunity to get familiar with that Lenny Bro technique too. Today's session is for a good friend of mine. His name is Scott, and I appreciate all of the coverage you give to the history of music. Thank you very much. And without further ado, we're starting with an E minor, an actual God-made E minor, right? So there's this beautiful open low E, 2 on the A, 2 on the D, open G, open B, and open high E. And we're going to walk through this fairly quickly today. No, I'm just kidding. We're going to take our time. We don't have any rush. Before we get really started and dive in to this chord rabbit hole, I think I want to take some notes. I'm going to remember some notes. I'm going to build some notes, and you should be able to find that list of notes in a full binder for this guitar session in the links in the description if you're watching on YouTube. I would recommend download it, pause the video, download it, take a look at it. It's a quality message for you, plus it has all of the things that you want to do, have at hand to follow along. And as we're following along, it's all E minor. It's all downhill from G major, right? So we're in the key of 1 sharp, which is typically G major, right? That's if we were to start on G. It'd be G major, but no, we also share that key signature of 1 sharp with E minor, right? Because it's a related minor chord. It's a related minor chord in the way that we use all of the same notes from the G major scale. E, F, G, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E. So that's right there is an E minor chord, and what you just heard is an E relative minor scale. Lots of stuff to cover here. Lots of stuff going on. So we have an added 9. Which is a really great sort of first place to go with this chord. It's the standard version of the chord is 1, 5, 1, flat 3, 5, and then 1. So what we're going to do is add the 9 now with finger 4. Open, 2, 4, open, open, open. This is an extension of the E minor chord. E minor starts here. It goes here, goes here, goes here. We're going to cover all of that stuff, so hang on tight. Hope you brought your helmet and chin strap. And your old school, favorite t-shirt. It's a prerequisite to be a guitar practitioner. And have your favorite old comfortable wrinkly shirt from the drawer that you save for special occasions such as this. And the long sleeve shirt I used to wear underneath my short sleeve button-up, comfy button-up in the university. This was a while ago, and I haven't done this, but it's comfortable. It's warm in the colder months of our climate. So comfortable clothes that don't rub and get crunchy, like nylons and polypropylenes are great. Polypropylene's great. Nylons or sort of shell clothing that we would wear when we're sporting are crinkly and they make noise and attract, especially if you're recording. We don't want to, we want to avoid those clothes. We want to have something on that's sort of soft and comfortable. Comfortable is important. So we're looking for E minor and then E minor add 9. Oh, yeah, welcome to whatever that song is. So it's an E minor add 9, and then we use the same shape up to frets 2 and 4, and then 3 and 5, and then 5 and 7 to create this really cool Metallica line. And then these two transitional chords, which are basically G chord shapes, right, that we drag all over the guitar neck to create these beautiful sounds, only to find ourselves back in E minor, right? So we've got this quarter note, or I wanted to take a minute too. I had someone ask me what I'm using for a metronome. He liked the blind guitarist, I forget, he's in the comments of like the D minor chord rabbit hole. You can go check out his channel. But he asked about the sound of this metronome, and it's got a really great timbre for an electronic metronome. I prefer to have one that's set up here on a desk that with a pendulum on it, but this works great in a pinch. I can adjust the volume, and it can adjust the the sort of accents on which beat. I can adjust time signatures, but all you really need is something that clicks, It doesn't even really need to change volume because we practice. If we practice too loud, then we don't hear the metronome, and that doesn't do us any good. So you can see right here that I'm using only forward rolls, which is another benefit of E minor. I can just practice forward rolls. 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and sometimes you go through a couple of strings at once and just keep that in mind. It's okay if we rush or fall through the string, but I'm trying to get through. I was watching a Kurt Rosenwinkel video the other day about playing diatonic chordal harmony, and we'll get into some of that later, but man, he is just such a great player. I really admire the sacrifices he's made to advance the guitar to the level at which he finds himself playing the guitar. But he's using downstrokes and then an upstroke. Down, down, up. Took me a second to figure out why he was playing it that way. If we use downstrokes, we can just kind of speed it up. And then it can become a better downstroke, a more controlled downstroke. But I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret here. If you've had difficulties with strumming the guitar and making it sound sort of pleasurable to you or pleasant, this is going to really help out. I'm going to really try to control my right hand. I could rush, and when I go through the next string, it's like pulling a bow. It's like drawing a bow. And as soon as I let it go, boom, it snaps back into place. The arrow goes, and then there's a finish, a vibrational finish there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the bow with the pick, pluck it, but then my pick falls quickly to the next, and uncontrollably to the next smallest string. So I need to fix that. I need to become aware. I'm aware of that, and I'm aware that if I stop my hand, if we stop our pick with a great amount of control halfway to the next string, we can have a really controlled and steady glide through a glissade. Glissade. You ever glissaded on a mountain on corn snow in your hiking boots? That's pretty cool. So this is the glissade. Or we're just strumming through. I'm not going, you know, plucking through the string and then resting on the next smaller string. You know, I'm actually trying, you can see where there are a number of indexes. Where the pick hand stops on the next smaller string. And if we do this with great breath and great control and arrest our fall as we pluck through the string set, we can have this beautiful forward roll. Takes a little effort to get there. We're controlling our entire forearm. We're controlling our entire wrist, carpals, metacarpals, phalanges. Fortunately for us, our left hand is just kind of hanging out there. But in order to really learn a chord, we have to do this grip, you know, 25. If you talk to Earl Scruggs, we do it 350 times. You know, the two fingers are going to grab frets 2 on the A and D strings, and we're just going to go ahead and strum. We'll come back to that forward roll stuff in a little bit. But that strum is going to be executed every time we arrive back at the chord. So we dismantle it, shake it out. It's not really enough just to kind of lift the fingers and come back down and arrive with each finger at its destination, point of destination at the same time. It's not really erasing the memory of the muscles there. So what we've got to do is just sort of, we don't, you know, obviously we're not flinging stuff off our hands, but we're just trying to free up some of that tissue so that we can reset and then come back to the chord. And this is the way we do every chord. I think you'll find that we try to, maybe I mention this in every other kind of chord rabbit hole video, maybe not, but this is the one you're going to hear it in. So E minor. The other thing you can do, if you want to play another song like right now, you know, E minor is also D6-9, you know, with F sharp in the bass. If you just kind of put a little balloon pops right here between fingers 2 and 3, and they go in opposite directions. You like the sound effects? So I hope you like the sound effects. But we have you know, just a quick, everybody's going in the other direction, right? And so you know what the song this is. So we're looking for 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and 3, 4. You can see my right hand is still going through the motions even if I'm not plucking, or even if I'm not attacking the string set. Because it's there, that downstroke or upstroke that's not attacking the string set is there as a placeholder and keeps us in time. We've got this 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 4. And once in a while, you'll get so on top of the metronome that you don't hear the click anymore. That's what we're shooting for. So this is a great way to practice a new chord. Kind of like what Mark Knopfler talks about. Every time he's learning a new chord, he'll just write another song with it. And just that's how he folds it into his vocabulary, right? So E minor, we're going to talk a little bit more about what exactly is E minor. E minor is heavily involved in American blues. So we can also do this little shuffle beat too. I saw Keith Richards doing this, something like this. I think he was in open standard tuning. Open G, maybe it's not standard, it's I think open G. But he was doing this old lick, you know, and it just sounded so cool. because you can get all these really... Let me break the rhythm down before I keep babbling on. Let's break the rhythm down, and that way you have it. You can check it out. If at any time you need to pause the video, go ahead and pause the video. You can rewind it. I would remember to rewind it and just try to catch that little bit again. That's a great tool. It's so difficult sometimes to stay focused on the things that are important to us. We easily get distracted. Noise in our communication is more present than it ever has been, I think. But I think you can do this. If I broke every one of these clicks down into threes, subdivided each click down into threes, 1 2 T 2 2 T T 2 T 4 2 T 1 2 T 2 T 2 3 4 2 T. I always never say 3. Don Stratton taught me this. I don't say 3 because it's too long. I can't say it, especially if it's maybe at this slower tempo I could, but I don't want to train myself to say it because at a faster tempo I might need it to be just a T. 1 2 T 2 2 T 3 2 T 4 2 T 1 2, and 4 isn't 4, it's fo 2 T. And if we don't practice that, it's not the easiest thing to do. So let's just practice saying 1 2 T 2 2 T T 2 T fo 2 T 1 2 T 2 2 T T 2 T fo 2 T. Wasn't that fun? Yeah, I feel like Mr. Rogers sometimes, but that's a good thing. Because, man, I love watching that stuff. And then that leads to 1 2 T 2 2 T T 2 T 4 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T. So it's articulations on the 1 2 T. 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T 1. And it's tough to get it, but once you get that triplet feel and you repeat it, it's hard to kind of makes you want to have a rocking chair. A good quality rocking chair, you know, one made out of solid cherry that's been crafted together, sort of like the ones that you find artisans make in Vermont. Man, that is just such a nasty sound. And it's so easy to do, right? We're toggling back and forth between 2 on the A string and 4 on the A string. I get so excited about the guitar, and I'm sure that's why you're here. If you're moving through this lesson so far, I hope you're playing along with me. We're just going to give this a second. I'm going to play this rhythm for you just for a little bit, and then you're going to take a look at the E minor pentatonic scale, which is open, low, E, and then G, and then fret 3 on the E. So I'll just use numbers to get us through this. 0 on the A, 2, 0, 2, right, 0, 3, 0, 2, 0, 2. 0, 3, 0, 2, 0, 2, and that's the octave. Okay, we're going above the octave, E, or 2, 0, 2, 0, 3, 0, 3, 0. Good. And then you could use fingers 1 and 2 or 2 and 3. Probably should learn how to use fingers 3 and 4 as well. Okay, and in that note, in that selection of tones, I had a pancake and egg and cheese breakfast sandwich this morning. So I'm going to tell you about that just with 2 or 3 notes on the top. change to the 4 chord in American blues. There's another lick here that's really cool, right? Really cool. We could use fingers, I'll use fingers 2 and 1. You could use fingers 2 and 3. You could use fingers 4 and 3, you know, depending on what we're doing, where we're going after that. But if we slide from 2, let's slide 2 frets 4 and 3 on the G and B strings. And we slide to those 2 notes, we can still use that triplet meter, that 1, 2, 1, 2, T, 2, 2, T, 3, 2, T, 4, 2, T, 1, 2, T, 2, 2, T, T, 2, T, 4, 2. All right, that's the subdivision that we want. We want, you know, subdivisions. 1, 2. Even though I'm saying whole numbers, I'm still feeling ding, 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 ding. I'm still feeling 3s in the background. Dig a ding, dig a bone, 2, 3, ding, dig a dong, dig a down, do ding. Dug a da, dig a dee, dug a da, duggy, dig a ding, down, boom, 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 boom. We could still feel straight 8s here too, instead of triplet 8s or swing 8s, or we could feel straight 8s. Nice 2 beats or 2 attacks per beat, an even subdivision of 2. And we call that 1 and 2 and T and 4 and 1 and 2 and T and 4. And if you play an idea in the minor pentatonic shape in one area, you could play it in an octave higher, right? So let's finish out this lick. From there, we loosely have to go through this framework to get to that. It's kind of like a product of the A or an E13 or whatever. We're going from that really bluesy sort of roll or slur up into that 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That 1 and 5, and then 5 flat 6 flat 7. Da 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 right, so we get that nice E minor that we slur up into those blue notes. Well, not really blue notes, but it sounds pretty bluesy. I hate to use that word bluesy, but we're using that A chord to get back to the E, right? And this time it's going to slur up from E minor up to E major. So the open 2G and the G and B strings are open, but then we add finger 1 on fret G, fret 1 on the G string, so G sharp actually, right? And there's that famous Mr. Big ending. What is it? To Be With You or something. That's a great, now you know how to play the ending in that song. Really cool natural harmonics, top 2 strings, upstroke, and then sliding from the 9, the major 9, up to the major 3. Instead of going from the 4 down to the minor 3rd and up to the major 3, we're doing approaching from below, beneath, right? All right, so you could just play Miles Davis used to say, you know, I play nursery rhymes, man. I play nursery rhymes, man. That's how I improvise. And, you know, we've all heard nursery rhymes, Mary Had a Little Lamb, for our whole lives, hopefully. you know? So those are all internalized. So if I'm going to play blues, I just want to run through this. I'm going to use Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I'm only going to use 2 notes. All right, so we can go back to nursery rhymes. Don't forget that. That's a huge benefit to improvisational approach to soloing, right? So we've got the E minor pentatonic, we've got the E minor, we've got the E minor 11 chord with no strings attached, or no frets attached, I guess. Excuse me. We have this E minor pentatonic scale. Some British tea, some Tetley British rounds. Of course, we can use the E minor blues. Which is 0-3, open 1, 2, open 1, which is the octave. We always start and stop on the octave so we can practice tonicizing our ears. We hear the root note as the center. E, G, A, B. Oh, don't forget the B at the A sharp. Or the B flat, right? Flatted 5th, right? B is the 5, so we'd use a flatted 5th instead of the sharp 4. Same sound, but different functions, right? The E minor that we really need to talk about, though, is Jimi Hendrix's E minor. Or what is that? I'm trying to do this at 60 beats per minute. I'm trying to rush through it. So it's the E minor, it's the E7 with the, we're going to include this in the minor rabbit hole because it's really a blues shape, right? It's the one that we would play in the blues scale because it's got the flatted 3 and it's got the flatted 3 and the major 3 in it. So we have do, re, mi, which is the 3, fa, sol, la, te, which is the flatted 7, and then do, re, mi. And that's what it sounds like when you have both the major and flatted thirds. In the same chord. Happy and sad at the same time. Funny how that works out for us, you know. All right, here's some more E minors, real quick. We're going to start with a little finger picking, a little fingerstyle, because we're headed back into the world of Metallica, and we've got this. It's almost the right tempo for the song. Something like that. But anyway, the forward roll is open low E string and then index, middle, and ring fingers on the G, B, and E strings. So this is great because we're doing all of the notes, we're executing or articulating all of the notes. We're not executing all of the notes because that's, you know, that's sacrilegious, you know, we don't talk like that. So we've got this E minor. Oh, E, G, B, and E. And we've got a forward roll going here with the right hand. And you can see that the forward hand, the hand is just perched on the top of the guitar. It's got a nice round sort of rainbow or arch. I hate to use the word. I'm going to use the word rainbow in the biblical sense. So we've got this nice arch. It refers to the arch, right? And the maybe it's just an arch. We're not talking rainbow at all, as a matter of fact. It's just an arch from the elbow to the fingertips. And the fingertips are sort of straight, feel like they're reaching for the string set. You know, they feel like they're reaching a little bit. You check out Matteo Mancuso's stuff, and then he's kind of reaching too, right? He does like a lot. I don't have a third fingernail, so I don't have that capability at the moment. But when I do, look out. So you could use your fingers are going to reach, right? And your thumb is going to sort of move from here to the tip of the thumb, right? And that's all going to move basically as a wand, one unit, right? One unit, right? It's not, you know, like this little finger puppet kind of time, but it's just you know, the whole unit from here to here, and then the fingers are all together, and they're all like instead of one finger being longer than the other ones, like the middle finger is usually longer than the other two. So we're going to use that middle finger, back it up, and we want to have the fingers shaped like a ramp, right? So it's a positive. They're all in the same sort of line, and you know, we just do what we can to keep those fingers sort of equally addressing the string set, because that's what we want, is capability to go wherever we need at whatever moment we need to get there, right? Because our musical thought might travel quickly in some cases. But we have a nice forward roll. Each finger is assigned to a string. In this case, thumb is on the low bass string, E, G, and index fingers on the G, middle fingers on the B, and ring fingers on the high E. The forward roll would be one and two and T and four and one and two and T and four and one and T and four. If you want to do the swing aids. 1 2 T 1 2 T 1 2 T T T T. Whatever, but. And then we could also practice reverse rolls. And this is the perfect place to do this, because we don't need any left hand. We can solely focus on the right hand because we sorely need to focus on it. I mean, we don't need to. I'm saying, like, I don't want to scare you into thinking you need anything, you know. Food, water, shelter, love, you know. After that, it's all pretty much bonus. You want to. But we might want to practice this in reverse. Why? Well, because we might want to incorporate it as the reverse roll into the forward roll, which 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2 and T and 3. It's a meter of 3. 1 and 2 and T and 1 and 2. Okay, so now that we have that established, you can practice that in your own time. We have the top 3 notes. We're going to break this down with the Van Epps method again. You know, string groups. String group number 1, string group number 2, string group number 3, string group number 4. And they're contiguous strings. We're not getting into like open voicings or, you know, jumping across strings or string skipping or anything yet. Not with this chord, but we're using the top 3 strings. E minor, right? G, B, E, right? Then I have B, E, and G. I'm finding all of these notes across the guitar neck. Rearranging, you know, or inverting the relationship of the notes as they relate to one another. So G is in the bass this time. Doesn't make it a root note because it's in the bass, right? B is in the bass this time because it's in the bass. Lowest note on the chord, right? B, E, and G, right? Same notes as here. And then E, G, B. I've got to practice. Something like that. But you can get really creative with that, index, middle, and ring finger and the thumb. And then we're up to E minor. E, this is the root inversion. So E, G, B is root 3, flat 3, 5. Flat 3, 5, 1, 5, flat 3, 5, 1, flat 3, and then root, flat 3, 5, and back to the place from whence we came, which is either fretted, or if you use your finger very lightly over the 12th fret, directly over the 12th fret marker, don't press too hard, just lightly touch the string and then remove your finger after you pluck it. You can create these really cool harmonics on the guitar. And you can't say that's not cool, right? E minor on the next string group down, we've got string group number 1, string group number 2, we've got E minor, E, G, B, and then G, B, E. No, E, G, B, G, B, E, and then B, E, G, and then back to the place from whence we came. E, G, B. Then we are going to do the next string group down, which is focusing on 5, the B, the E, the G, or 5, 1, flat 3. 1 flat, this is the root version because the root note is in the bass. 1, flat 3, 5, and then flat 3, 5, 1, and then 5, 1, flat 3, and then E, and then harmonic minor, Carey third, and then flat 3, 5, because we can't play this one and invert it because we don't have that. We have an E, G, and a B, an E, and a B, and an E. We can't really invert. We could invert that, but we only have 2 inversions of that because there are only 2 notes, right? So we're going to use the E. We're going to start with the G in the bass this time with first inversion, G, B, E, and we bar that first finger, which is another thing we didn't talk about. We could play that. We could. No one knows what it's like. Right, the first chord of another really cool song. But we're using finger 2, 1, 1, right? Flat 3, 5, 1, and then 5, 1, flat 3. We've got 7, 7, 5 on the bottom 3 strings now. String grouping number 4. And then 1, flat 3, 5 with 12, 10, and 9. And so this is back to the place from whence we came. So we have what are we doing? Why are we doing all these inversions? It's so we kind of know how to get around the guitar neck. Takes a little bit just to get down to that tempo. So the more we practice with a metronome, the better we get at it. The quicker we can transfer from one tempo to another one. I was clearly rushing, but the metronome is bringing me back into a practice tempo. Okay, so if you have any other questions, I think we covered most of what I wanted to talk about, with the exception of that Neil Young tune. Heart of Gold is basically the same as, right, it's the same as that Horse with No Name song that we covered earlier. It's moving from the 1 chord, the E minor, to the D, or some variation or form of the D, and back to E minor again. Let's see. Oh, there's another really cool E minor that sort of, Jimi Hendrix would have used, Eric Johnson would have used in Cliffs of Dover. He borrowed from these these shapes, you know, and kind of triaded, arpeggiated his way through the intro and through the song. But these are really Dave Matthews. A lot of people use this E minor chord up here. Just for rock purposes, you know. Couple in the next room bound to win a prize. They've been going at it all night long. Right? E minor, Paul Simon. We've got this nice, or incubus if you open up that G string. This is really cool E minor. So 0, 7, 9, 9, 8, and then 0, or bar that first finger onto fret 7 again on the high E string. Or just take that off and then use that as an E minor. Well, it'd be an E minor minor, right? E minor, because there's no flat 7 in there anymore. And then they slide up into an E9, which is, I mean, there's so much to do with E minor. I just kind of have all these songs because I've been teaching guitar for a long time, and they're just all sort of, some of them are still in there and some of them aren't, you know. If you have any other ideas about what we can do with E minor, let me know. I'm all ears on good days, you know, and then all thumbs on another day. But I think we can safely end this rabbit hole with the notion that it's important to take the time to play the guitar every day. And some of us do, and some of us wish we could, some of us don't, and some of us are like, well, what a profound waste of time that is. And here's another cool E minor. Oh yeah, just E minor 9, right? Just cool stuff. Choking out the A string. Let's see if we can get that right. So, Lenny, thanks for being out there as a guitar player. If you've heard of Lenny, bro, let me know. Otherwise, happy picking. I hope you like, share, and subscribe and do the obligatory stuff. Watch the videos that are coming up, because that's really where the rubber meets the road, you know, and that's comments are really helpful for us too. And I really appreciate some comments. I really appreciate, again, the comment about the sound of the metronome, because if you're going to be spending a lot of time with something, it should sound the way you want it. So it's called a Pro Metronome, and it's an app that you can find in the link. I'll link it. I'll link to it. I'll link to another desk mount metronome. And until next time, happy picking, friend.